Kaylee, in a previous life, before you were press secretary, you worked for the campaign, and you made a comment, I believe, on Fox, in which you said President Trump will not allow the coronavirus to come to this country. Given what has happened since then, obviously, would you like to take that back?
Well, first, let me note, I was asked a question on Fox Business about the president's travel restrictions. I noted what was the intent behind those travel restrictions, which is we will not see the coronavirus come here. We will not see terrorism come here, referring to an earlier set of travel restrictions. I guess I would turn the question back on the media and ask similar questions. Does Vox want to take back that they proclaim that the coronavirus would not be a deadly pandemic? Does the Washington Post want to take back that they told Americans to get a grip, the flu is bigger than the coronavirus? Does the Washington Post likewise want to take back that our brains are causing us to exaggerate the threat of the coronavirus? Does the New York Times want to take back that fear of the virus may be spreading faster than the virus itself? Does NPR want to take back that the flu was a much bigger threat than the coronavirus? And finally, once again, the Washington Post, would they like to take back that the government should not respond aggressively to the coronavirus? I'll leave you with those questions, and maybe you'll have some answers in a few days.
Yeah, Kaylee, respectfully,
Thank you very much.
Just you were prepared for that.
But the question's after you, Secretary McEnany.
Why shouldn't all Americans who go back to work be able to get a test before they do to feel comfortable in their own work environment to be interacting with other individuals?
Yeah, well, let's dismiss a myth about tests right now. If we tested every single American in this country at this moment, we'd have to retest them an hour later and then an hour later after that, because at any moment you could theoretically contract this virus. So the notion that everyone needs to be tested is just simply nonsensical. The people who need to be tested are vulnerable populations. That's why Dr. Birx has repeatedly emphasized we need to surge nursing homes with the testing, meat processing facilities. That's where the testing is needed. We have to be strategic with our testing, and we have done that so far. And
as it stands, though, right now, at this moment, how does the White House view the U.S. relationship with China right now?
Right now, it's a relationship of disappointment and frustration, because the president has said how frustrated he is that some of the decisions of China put American lives at risk. I'll share just a few. That China, for instance, did not share the genetic sequence until after a professor in Shanghai did so on his own. And after that genetic sequence was shared, the next day the lab was shut down for, quote, rectification. The World Health Organization slow-walked information on human-to-human transmission that was not adequately provided by China. China didn't let U.S. investigators in. And look, those decisions put American lives at risk. And the president is certainly not happy about that. And as the president said, you'll be hearing more about that next week.
Business partners?
Sorry?
Maybe trusted business partners?
Look, the president has worked with China and stood up to China and got the Phase 1 China deal, a huge win, $250 billion. The president managed to get that done. And the president appreciates that China got us to that point of the Phase 1 China deal. So, I'll leave it to the president as to how we move forward, and I certainly won't get ahead of him on that.
Thanks, Kaylee. The president said yesterday he does not want Dr. Fauci testifying before the House because it's filled with Trump haters. How is that consistent with oversight and transparency?
Well, first of all, what the president noted was specific to the House. It's important to note that Dr. Fauci will be testifying before the Senate, which means he will be fielding questions from both Democrats and Republicans. The House, however, and specifically Chairwoman Nita Lowey's committee, did not act in good faith. Mark Meadows had 3 calls with Chairwoman Nita Lowey 3 nights ago when she called to ask if Dr. Fauci could testify before a subcommittee hearing. And Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has made clear he wants to make the best use he can of the task force members' time. Of course, they're working hard to save American lives, so that's very important. So to that end, he said in the 3 phone calls, what is the purpose of this hearing? Can you give me the subject matter? And Lowey was unable to tell the Chief of Staff what the subject matter was. The last phone call they had was at 10:46 p.m. on that evening, and Lowey agreed to follow up in the morning with details. Those details were never received. Instead, we got a press release. So that's what we call a publicity stunt. We encourage the House to act in good faith, much like the Senate did. And as I noted, Dr. Fauci will be speaking in a week and a half before the Senate, so the notion that he's being blocked is just farcical.